Yes, this is an island surrounded by water, big water, ocean water. Trust me, I'm like a smart person. I'm very consistent. I'm a very stable genius. I had the best words. Tolerated. I know words. Mike Pounds. I hope they now go and take a look at the oranges of the investigation. But there's no better word than stupid. Anonymous, really anonymous. I'm very highly educated. One of the wettest we've ever seen from the standpoint of water. I had the best words. God bless the United States.
Nancy Pelosi's Gazpacho police.
What up, everybody? You know what time it is. Rob the Nation, Waldorf Nation, Jeff Waldorf here with you today. So, it's Thursday. We got an interesting show for you today. So we're just going to go back to doing some fun, because I enjoy doing fun stories, and plus, nobody watches the important stuff. I was just going through, and this is like depressing, sort of. But I'm going through my video views and everything on YouTube. And the segment that I spent on the on the Ukraine situation, 2 hours worth of research and study, and then it's a 25-minute segment, and 500 people watched it. What the fuck, man? It makes you not even want to do that kind of stuff anymore and just stick to the dunking on conservatives. I'm serious. It's very sad. Very sad indeed. But anyway, you know what? I know you're all here for one thing. Yeah, that's right. You got one thing on your mind. And that's Mike Pillow. Okay. Don't worry, we're going to get to that segment. We're going to have some fun. That's later on in the show. But we also have Donald Trump clogging toilets. We got Gazpacho. The Gazpacho is coming for you. We got Dave Chappelle. There's some controversy around Dave Chappelle. I dug into that. And because look, I didn't want to just do surface level analysis. I wanted to look in, and I wanted to parse out the details and do some responsible reporting. Turns out, let's not give it away. We'll get to that segment. We got Joe Rogan basically telling his listeners, hey, dumbass, stop listening to me for medical advice. Well, about freaking time. So we've got that as well. All right, so now, we're getting view shamed. You goddamn right. Goddamn right, getting view shamed. Take 5 minutes on it next time. On what? Kind of curious. On the Ukraine thing? Is that what's? Because look, I have been known to try and put way too much nuance into segments that people do not have time for. I get that. So, all right. I'll keep that in mind. But again, I want to make sure that I get the nuance and understanding and all this stuff and all the different angles of the story to be thorough. I'm not too thorough. €2 and 900K too late. Okay, anyway. let's move on. Let's get into the story. Let's go to the White House toilets. Okay. Today we have some stories about dumps. Big, massive dumps. Yes, you might have heard something about Donald Trump having some problems or have had some problems with the White House toilets. And so now, it's not what you think it is. It's actually a little bit more serious. Nonetheless, let's get to the details, okay? Before we get into
dumps.
Okay, so now, according to an excerpt from an upcoming book by Maggie Haberman, Donald Trump would regularly clog White House toilets because he would try to flush documents. In fact, here it is. While President Trump was in office, staff in the White House residence periodically discovered wads of printed paper clogging a toilet and believed the president had flushed down pieces of paper. So, yeah, that's it. We found them.
Big, massive dumps.
We got the dumps. We got the big, massive dumps, and it turns out they're coming from Donald Trump. Shocker. So, look, as hilarious as the story is, it's also actually kind of serious. For one, not only did the president constantly turn his documents into confetti, we reported on that, he also went so far, if Omarosa is to be believed, and again, she's a little bit of a dubious source, all right? But at the same time, she reported, or I had told reporters, that Donald Trump would not only rip up his papers, but sometimes he'd eat them. Which once again, might also explain big, massive dumps. Okay, now he also apparently took some of those documents to Mar-a-Lago. Yeah, we're just taking them home. They're supposed to go to the National Archives, and some of them didn't make it, and certainly a lot of them didn't make it in one piece. You had to have staffers that would literally tape them together. And so, now look, Donald Trump, this is a gross violation, of course, of the Presidential Records Act. To be fair, Donald Trump is not the only person that has broken that. But even though, and I wish that weren't the case, even so, he's the only one, the first one, to do it in such a flagrant way. I mean, I'm not kidding. I'm not kidding. And remember, this is somebody who claimed to care about record keeping. I mean, do you remember the whole Hillary Clinton's emails thing? Now, look, I dragged Hillary Clinton for that. You can go back, you can watch the videos for her home server and, you know, those emails, etc. And you know why I'm bringing that up? Because I'm actually consistent in my criticism. But MAGA folks, they don't really care. MAGA folks don't care that he's, notorious for shredding documents. Where's the outrage about that? No, it's fake news. What are you talking about? That's not a real thing. But, like, you ever wonder why, though? Why he would be so interested in shredding documents? Maybe he's like, I don't know, trying to hide something. And maybe, just maybe, this is why he was always complaining about needing 10 to 15, flushes to flush the toilet. Do you remember this?
People are flushing toilets 10 times, 15 times, as opposed to once. They end up using more water. You cannot make a brilliant speech where they say that was such an incredible, elegant speech if I'm talking about dishwashers, sinks, toilets, light bulbs. We won't talk about toilets, but you know that's 10, 15, but we don't talk about that. Because I've said this 3 or 4 times, the only subject they ever talk about is toilets, so I don't mention it.
We don't talk about the toilets. We don't talk about them.
Dumps.
We don't talk about the
big, massive dumps.
No, we're not going to do it. We're not going to do it. You know why? Because they always talk about the toilets. Meanwhile, I'm ripping up everything and flushing it down the toilet. No wonder he needs higher volume, stronger flow toilets. It explains everything. Everything. All right, so now one more point here. Let me go to his response to when this came out. It's going to be funny. So he immediately deflects and says, oh, crooked Hillary Clinton deleted and acid washed 32,000 emails and never gave that to the government. He even claimed that the Clintons took large amounts of furniture out of the White House. There's actually no record of that happening. But I wouldn't be surprised if he was like, I really want to take some of that furniture. Let me just take the Resolute desk. It's fine. Nobody'll know. Nobody'll miss it, right? Right? No, Donald, you can't literally take the desk. And then he also added, another fake story that I flushed papers and documents down a White House toilet is categorically true and simply made up by a reporter in order to get publicity for a mostly fictitious book. Well, at least he said like mostly, so I wonder what's in there that's actually true, according to him. Very interesting. I have questions. And then he said, the Democrats are just using this and the unselect committee of political hacks as camouflage for how horribly our country is doing under the Biden administration. All right, so now, I love how he says acid washing. How do you acid wash an email? Oh, right, you can't. Acid washing, for those who are unfamiliar, that's what people would do in the 90s to their jeans. Oh my God. But this is ridiculous. The entire thing is ridiculous. I absolutely believe that this happened. Of course he tried to flush this stuff down the toilet. And you know why? It's because I trust plumbers more than I would Donald Trump. Plumbers, they're good old, good blue-collar American workers. Real Americans. Donald Trump's a rich trust fund baby who's been caught not lying numerous times and shredding documents. Who would you believe? I believe the American heroes. Because you have to be a hero to, fix some of the stuff that has clogged up toilets. Let me tell you this. So, look, one more actually serious point, I suppose. I don't like it that we have to wait for these things to come out in a book. So again, all the stuff, and I've gone through this many times, excerpts from a book. Oh, this person, Jonathan Karl's releasing a book. Maggie Haberman's releasing a book. After the administration's over. Why do we have to wait for all this stuff to come out? For a reporter to then sell it in a book to make an extra buck. Like peak capitalism. All right. I don't know. It's not a lot of people are asking that question, but apparently it's just acceptable in Washington, in the press, to hold on to your scoops, or in this case, your dumps, big massive dumps, in order, for you to be able to bide your time and then write a book and sell it. So that actually, you don't understand how actually untrustworthy that does make you in the eyes of the American people. Wait, why didn't we know about this before? Very interesting. My suggestion, maybe you not sit on stories in order to make a buck, but just report the news. I know, even if you miss out on like a couple $1 million of book sales or however much you'll get. But I think that, news and information, because this actually is serious, because what if documents that he had tried to flush down the toilet or the toilet, would, contain something like the Kim Jong-un love letters. And I didn't call them love letters. He called them love letters. And so, maybe we should report the news. It's not that hard. How many Trump books are out since 2021? A lot. I think a lot. Okay. Anyway. Move on to more ridiculous things. Okay. Turlet. That's right, turlet. All right. Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene just perfectly illustrated why you should never do an interview while hungry.
Not only do we have the DC jail, which is the DC gulag, but now we have Nancy Pelosi's Gazpacho police spying on members of Congress, spying on the legislative work that we do, spying on our staff, and spying on American citizens that want to come talk to their representatives. This government has turned into something it was never meant to be, and it's time to make it end.
Gazpacho police? It's the Gazpacho. What? I'm sorry. Literally, it makes me think of the soup Nazi from Seinfeld. No soup for you. No soup for you. And again, for those who don't know, Gazpacho is a cold vegetable, cold tomato-based vegetable soup. So now she meant Gestapo, and when you look at that, that's a horrible comparison because she's literally accusing Nancy Pelosi of being a Nazi. Look, Nancy Pelosi is a lot of things. A Nazi is not one of them. Is she somebody that likes, congressional stock trading because she owns millions of dollars in stock? Yes. Is she somebody who blocks Medicare for all, even though she had signs of supporting single-payer healthcare in her basement, but now takes millions of dollars in health insurance industry money? Yes. A Nazi? No. I would disagree about that. Okay, it's totally insane, totally insane. So I'm trying to hold off on the food puns here, all right? Because let me show you where the insanity is coming from. So this is from Congressman Troy Nehls. So he tweeted out on Tuesday about the Gestapo, right? Coming to his office. He says, Capitol Police entered my office without my knowledge and photographed confidential legislative products, interesting phrasing, in November, and that they took photographs of a whiteboard. And he later told Fox News that he was being targeted and accused Pelosi of weaponizing the Capitol Police to silence him. Oh no, Capitol Police! Doing that? How could they? Oh, well, I mean, that is their literal job. Look, here's the situation, right? So now, according to Capitol Police Chief Tom Manger, who responded to this in a statement, they were conducting a security check because somebody left the door open. So now, according to regulations, the Capitol Police, when you see an office door that's just wide open, you have to go in and you have to do a security sweep to make sure nobody's broken into your office. You know, like, for example, somebody on January 6th, might have done that. They have to go in, they have to check and see if there's anything missing. And of course, they take photographs in order to document the state of the room they had found it in to file it into official reports. In fact, here's what Manger said, quote, "The United States Capitol Police is sworn to protect members of Congress. If a member's office is left open and unsecured without anyone inside the office, USCP officers are directed to document that and secure the office to ensure that nobody can wander in and steal or do anything else nefarious." Now, the Monday after the agent stepped into Nell's office, Manger added Capitol Police personnel followed up with the staff about the issue and determined that no further action or investigation was needed. Oh, your office is secure. Great, fine. Now we can go on, now we can move on. But this guy says, no. It's the Gestapo. They're targeting me. No, they're lying. Bullshit, total bullshit going on Fox News and claiming that the Capitol Police, I thought you were in favor of the police. What happened to the thin blue line? What happened? Oh, we back the police. Now they've turned we back the police into, oh my God, the police are after us. Makes no sense. It's so ridiculous how much they have just done a U-turn on that after January 6th. Now, I'm not the only one who's noticed that. But yes, like I said, that's really far from what Congressman Nehls and Marjorie Taylor Greene have claimed. No, see, here's the problem. Here's the situation. They're hungry for just a little crumb of oppression. These overpaid congressmen who barely even work. Marjorie Taylor Greene has no committee assignments at all. She does absolutely nothing to earn her cheddar. I think it's time for her to be whipped, you know, when she comes to the next election. Because she has proved over and over again that she's not the cream of the crop. I held off as long as I could. Okay. Big bags of soup. So much soup. Is it soup? Soup for your family. Okay. Has she ever even been on a committee? I believe she was. And she was stripped of her committee assignments. All right. Margie, assistant professional victim. They pretty much all are, honestly. Okay, so let's get to something a little bit more, you know. Today's stories, there's a smokescreen to cover up the real news, the Trump of stealing boxes of White House documents and hauling them off to Mar-a-Lago. Actually, we have talked about that. And that is some messed up stuff. Okay. It appears that comedian Dave Chappelle has helped kill an affordable housing development in his small town of Yellow Springs, Ohio. Let me show you some video of the meeting, of a town hall meeting. Take a look.
Hi, I'm Dave Chappelle. I just want to say, and Marianne, I can talk to you about this privately. I don't know why the village council would be afraid of litigation from a $24 million a year company while they X out a $65 million a year company. I cannot believe you would make me audition for you. You look like clowns. I am not bluffing. I will take it all off the table. That's all. Thank you.
All right, so look, the video basically shows a multimillionaire threatening to pull his money from the community in order to stop the development of this planned housing development. So now let's dig into the details, right? Because I wanted to make sure that I got all the details before rushing to judgment. And again, the video itself, it screams, do you know who I am? Like, oh, you know who I am. Look at all this money I poured in this community. I will pull it all if you don't do what I want. And so it looks really bad. But again, let's dig into the details before we make a decision, okay? So now, according to information from the Daily Dayton News, the village and housing developer Oberer had worked together to produce a plan that would include some housing in this area. Now, this new plan would include duplexes and affordable housing to be built at a later date, of course, along with single-family homes in a 53-acre area along Spillin Road and at the south edge of town. So now, this would butt up against Dave Chappelle's property. So I think that's an important point to consider, right? So now the village initially asked for the development to advance affordable housing in the village, including an area that the village would later be able to develop into that affordable housing. That's about 1.75 acres that would be donated to build some affordable housing units. So again, when you look into the details, I wanted to see why he would be opposed to this, right? Now, the actual plan itself would have added about 140 housing units, 64 single family and 52 2- and 3-bedroom duplexes and 24 townhomes. That 1.75 acres of donated land would build government subsidized housing for low and moderate income residents, along with walking paths, a public park, and of course sidewalks. So now there were actually two plans here. So the plan that I just read you was the plan that was shot down. Now, the other plan that I'm going to tell you will automatically, as a result of this getting shot down, go into effect. So now, the original development plan that will now go into effect is a plan for building about 143 single-family homes in that area instead. So no duplexes, no townhomes, just single-family homes valued of about $330,000 each. So that is effectively killing affordable housing. And so, again, poor people are not going to be able to afford that. And so both plans would involve a homeowners association. I know a lot of people were having some concerns about that. They are terrible from what I hear. But look, at the end of the day, one plan was going to pass. Now, that said, Dave Chappelle was not in favor of either plan. But by default, one plan is going to go into effect. One way or the other, we were going to have a plan. That was one of those developments was going to happen. And so now it appears that it's going to just be no affordable housing at all. Now, again, he says, I support affordable housing. No, of course I support affordable housing. But I think what we've run into here could be an issue of NIMBY. Not in my backyard. Now, this development, as I mentioned, would bump up against his property. And I think, like many wealthy people, it doesn't matter if you're liberal or conservative. We see this all over the place, anywhere in between. If you're a wealthy person, generally you don't want poor people near you. And in Chappelle's case specifically, I don't think he wants anyone near him, personally. Now, according to a source close to Chappelle, talking to the Daily Mail, Chappelle, again, opposes both residential development plans in his hometown and objected, for the original plan at a December council meeting. Here's what he said. So, and this is to really give you more context.
I just want to say I'm adamantly opposed to it. Obviously, I live behind the development or the proposed development. I do have many business interests in town. I've invested millions of dollars in town. If you push this thing through, what I'm investing in is no longer applicable. The average age in the village is 49 years old. Without a school, you will not attract young families, and this city will not live beyond the retirees that decide to settle here. And I'm surprised that Mary Ann McQueen is suddenly not averse to change, because you always are when I propose a change. And now all of a sudden we have to recognize the change. These changes are inevitable, but we do have a decision on what they will or could be. And I think we should use more of a visionary eye instead of a reactionary one, because the potential of this place is immense, and Ober is not the only solution.
All right, so now, good. What he says there, yes, this place has potential, and that housing developer, Ober, is not the only ones. So now that certainly, okay, sure, it's not the only ones, but that's the only ones that they were considering. And once again, if the affordable housing plan didn't go into place, well, then you also still are going to end up with the non-affordable housing plan. So it was one of those, choose one or the other in this situation. Now, again, this was at the last video that I showed you was at an earlier meeting. And so he's saying, look, I don't like either of these. I think there are some significant issues with this plan. And so I don't support this, and I will pull out. Okay. So I get that. Still, I feel like there's some NIMBY here. And I even looked into the company Ober, right? So it turns out that back in the 80s, they actually tried to build another affordable housing in the same in the same kind of area, right? Now, they ended up not doing that. The city ended up voting against that proposal several times. And by the way, this was a government funded grant. The company ended up suing the city, suing the village in order to try to build the affordable housing development. They won, but they abandoned the project because the federal funding, the federal grant, was gone. They had taken too much time, and there was no more federal grant money, and so they couldn't have actually built that affordable housing. So understand that this company had been trying to build an affordable housing in this area, and of course there have been people in the community who also support building more affordable housing. Now that said, were there infrastructure concerns, legitimate concerns? Yes. Again, traffic, the homeowners association, issues of water management, all that stuff. And even several villagers were like, hey, look, the council had not included us in the process in the decision with Ober. That said, I still feel like there's some NIMBY here. Now, Yellow Springs is a small middle-class community. They have a median household income of about $61,402 a year. The average income of a Yellow Springs resident is $42,000. So again, that's median household income. My thought is that there are, of course, going to be people here who don't want poor people in their town. And that includes, I think, Dave Chappelle, who is not only rich, but in my opinion, doesn't want anyone near his land, much less poor people. And I get it. I understand not wanting anyone near your land. I get it. But it just, I don't know. It just seems really shitty to not want affordable housing in your community, because that is something that is absolutely necessary. As Chappelle said, hey, I want to draw in these families. Well, these units, these 2 and 3 bedroom units, and the affordable housing that is subsidized for low and middle income people would help do that. But I'm guessing maybe they're concerned that they're going to bring in the wrong kind of people. And so, look, I've lived in affordable housing, apartment complexes, government subsidized. Hey, there's a lot of good people that live there. There's some shady people, of course. I still don't trust people who wear suits for a living, honestly. Those are the people who will rob you the most. That's just my perspective. But understand, of course, there are shady people who live in those, who can live in those areas. But then again, there's shady people everywhere. Mostly there are people that are just trying to do their best, though. But to the NIMBY people, it doesn't really matter. They say they can support affordable housing, and again, we see this with rich liberals all the time. Yeah, I support affordable housing, but just not near me. Yeah, it's just not near me. You put it somewhere else. Why would I want that close to me? And so, to me, it's like, okay, hypocrisy. And I have my thoughts. Maybe Dave Chappelle has different thoughts. I don't know. He's not saying anything about it. He's not coming out and saying, oh, actually, no, I do support affordable housing. I'll do that. But I don't support this plan as it is. Here's what I would do to actually change it if it were up to me. Well, that would be a lot different. Instead, we have this video where he was deeply condescending, calling them clowns, the village council, and threatening once again to take his rich person money, his investment money, out of the community if he doesn't get what he wants. It just looks terrible. So if he doesn't want to be known for that, well, he might want to come out and make a better statement. Okay. The same with cell towers. Oh, yeah. Oh, no, I live in Michigan, so there's been a push for, before I get to Pillow Guy, there's been a pretty big push for wind turbines. Well, I mean, I see these signs. Oh, not in my literally not in my backyard. Too loud, too close, and too something. I can't remember what the the sign said verbatim, but it was like too close, too loud, whatever. What did they listen to Donald Trump? These towers, these wind turbines, and they killed the birds. They killed the birds. Okay, but cats kill birds. I have cats. I love my cats. And I don't let them outside, by the way. But yes, cats kill birds. More so than wind turbines. And they're causing, no, but apparently the windmills cause cancer, as you all point out. So, that's the NIMBY thing. It's always been the NIMBY thing. Where, yes, I'm in support of this, for sure, just not close to me. Playing devil's advocate, having government housing near will significantly lower property values. And that's the other thing. That's another point that always gets brought up in these discussions about affordable housing and why people don't want that near their neighborhoods. It's going to lower my property values. Because I care about my property values more than my values of caring about poor people. And so I don't want them, and I don't want their crime near me. And so, but it'd be fine if it were somewhere else. That sucks. It is that, it is that interesting. Let's see. By the way, let's see. This is agenda-based reporting, purposely omits key details. Dave has always lived in small town USA. That's what he's investing in. Yellow Springs, Ohio has a population. Yeah, it's about 3,700, yes. The developers and local government are doing what's best for self. I haven't seen any evidence of that. So that's kind of because I looked for, what kind of sweetheart deal is happening here? Is there a huge benefit for the housing developers other than just building these houses? How much is this going to cost? So I haven't seen any sort of super nefarious motive. Obviously, no matter what, and you got to understand, Herb, all right, that no matter what one development is going through, and I mentioned that several times, all right, several times, that there was going to be affordable housing or there's going to be 143 single-family homes. The affordable housing change was shot down, which means we're getting the 143 single-family homes worth about $330K. So that is the context. And by the way, there are people who supported that housing project. And yes, there were people who were also against the housing project. As far as dramatically changing the landscape, that town, the average age, and Dave pointed this out as well, the average age is 49. You've got retirees there in that community. It's a small community. Guess what? Without new investment, without actually making changes, that town's going to die out. You've got to bring new people in there. And of course, the best way to do that, I think, and you can disagree with me here, but I think you bring in affordable housing. I know my property values. Then your town is going to die. I'm just saying, you got to have new you have to have new people in your town if you want to have them frequent their businesses. Besides, there was also reading about this, how this entire thing is also an attempt to not raise taxes, by the way, to not raise taxes by growing the tax base. I've also seen residents talk about how the infrastructure is able to handle it, the new expansions of this. And yes, there's issues with traffic, etc. I know too much about the issues of Yellow Springs, Ohio. All right? So please, don't come at me with the bullshit. about, we're all against it. No, not everybody's against it. There's a lot of people in favor of this. It's literally Dave being more concerned about his business investments over the needs of actual people. Well, he needs people to go to his businesses. And yes, there's an issue of gentrification. That area is already gentrified. And building more single-family homes that are $330,000 a piece to buy is not going to help. You've got to have some affordable options here. Okay, anyway. Let's go to Pillow Guy. Because I'm pretty sure that guy's not even listening anymore.
God gave me this platform. I already know I'm going to win. China did our vote. Biden and Harris would say, hey, we're here to protect the country, and resign. Mike Lindell's a conspiracy. But you haven't. Just forget about the evidence. This was attacked.
You know what time it is. Pillow Talk. So MyPillow CEO Mike Lindell has, of course, been pushing this idea that somehow it's 2022, that the 2020 election is going to be pulled down anytime now, granting Donald Trump a return to the White House. And he thinks that it's going to begin in Arizona. So now, Arizona, that's important because recently there was a bill that was introduced by a Trump-supporting Republican, Mark Fincham, to decertify the state election in Arizona. We're still on this. We're still, we're going to decertify the election, and somehow that's going to mean that Donald Trump is going to win the election that he lost, and we had already been certified, et cetera, et cetera. Let me just say, never going to happen. Never going to happen. They're not going to decertify the election. Okay? Nonetheless, this bill, this long shot, is getting Mike Pillow to celebrate. Take a look.
They put this out. It's a declaration, everybody, to decertify Arizona and decertify their electors in the 2020 election. This is what we've been waiting for. If 2 more states do that, we got our country back and pulled down these electors.
Still trying. Look, that bill's nonsense. Now, Lindell, he's going to go on, of course, about supposed crimes. Oh, the Pennsylvania. Did you know Pennsylvania had more votes than voters? No, because that didn't happen. It's not true. Now, their supposed analysis is that, you see, we had more votes than voters, and so therefore the margin of voters that we had was more than the actual election results, and it was so wide. It's over 200,000 voters, don't you know? And so we have to just completely decertify the election. Well, that was based on a wild conspiracy theory that had a flawed analysis at the center of it. The people who did this analysis, one was an accountant. Yes, good with numbers, as you can see, not so good with actually how elections work and what actually happens during elections. See, a lot of the stuff that they say is, this is irregularities, we've never seen this before. Actually very common. Very common. In fact, the Pennsylvania Department of State put this out. Quote, the obvious misinformation put forward by Representative Ryan and others is a hallmark of so many of the claims made about this year's presidential election. When exposed to even the simplest examination, courts at every level have found these and similar conspiratorial claims to be wholly without basis. Yeah. And so there's something to do with like overcounting state, like down ballot races compared to the presidential races. Hey, did you know that more people vote for president than they do down ballot? But then they look at that and they say, oh my God, look at this disparity. There must be something wrong here. There must be something very shady. No. It's you trying to find a conspiracy theory to latch onto. But again, facts don't matter when you're a conspiracy theorist because A, you're obviously smarter than everybody else. Oh, I'm the only one who noticed this. Therefore, I am smart. And B, of course, obviously, they're trying to stop me from telling you the truth. Yes, oh yes. Because, they're trying to, who's they? Who's they? Well, it's them, it's the deep state. It's the opposing sides that are working together for some unknown reason in order to stop the truth from getting out there. And we don't know what the reason is, but we're pretty sure that whatever they're doing is bad and it involves lizard people and Satan. And probably the Jews. I mean, it always comes back to that. So, that said, it actually gets more dangerous when you start naming specific people when it comes to these conspiracy theories. And that's exactly what Lindell started to do.
Rusty Bowers is a compromised Republican. He's the Speaker of the House there. Now, let me tell you, Doug Ducey now with Rusty Bowers. Rusty Bowers yesterday said this. We shamed him. Shame on you, Rusty Bowers. I got an investigation going into. I want to ask everybody, why would a Republican that's head of the legislatures come out and say, and just be an obstructionist for a year, Eric? It doesn't make sense. You're going, why would you do that? Why would you just say, hey, let's look at what we got here? Because we work for the American people. And then not only that, so you had Karen Fann, head of the Senate. We need to get everyone in this country behind those legislators that stood up, and the ones that are still sitting there, they all need to sign. And when they sign, the election of 2020 will get pulled down in Arizona. And guess what? We're coming for you, Wisconsin. We're coming for you, Pennsylvania. We're coming for you, Michigan. We're coming to you, Georgia. All of them are at different phases of getting pulled down.
Sure they are. Any day, Mike. Any day. It's going to happen. They're going to get pulled down. It's, again, this is sad and desperate. Very sad, very desperate. But also, the people that he named, dangerous. What happens when the election isn't pulled down? New conspiracy theory, of course. But what happens to the people? Well, probably death threats. Now, let me know that Bowers axed the bill immediately. As soon as Fincham, introduced this, Bowers was like, this is garbage. This is worthless. This is nothing. Let's get rid of it. Now, he also added, Mr. Fincham's obviously unconstitutional, profoundly unwise proposal will receive all of the attention it deserves. Which is basically nothing. Now, that said, you think they're going to be happy about that? No, there's going to be a horde of angry chuds looking to go out after those rhinos or Republicans in name only, right? Now, maybe I'll be fair. Maybe it'll be in a primary form. I'm totally fine with that. If you want to primary Republicans that you don't agree with, I believe in the primary process. I'm not a corporate Democrat. I love primaries. I think primaries are excellent in most cases. And now, unfortunately, on the right, they tend to primary people with more insane people. And so that's problematic. But I'd rather have it, them primary Republicans they don't agree with than do mini January 6s. Now, again, I told you I live in Michigan, and we had chuds that tried to kidnap the governor because they didn't agree with her. That's not good. That's not good at all. So now I hope they're not going to go in that direction, but at the same time, understand that Mikey, again, it's 2022. He's not going to stop. They're not going to stop. They're insane and putting out insane conspiracy theories, and they're going to continue to keep the insanity going for as long as humanly possible. And that's unfortunately the sad truth of this whole thing. Okay. All right, time to make Rogan people mad. Again, they're already mad. Joe Rogan people are pissed off at me. Big surprise, right? And now I'm going to do it again. I know. It sucks. Why do I keep doing it then? It's the definition of insanity. All right. Joe Rogan has some advice for his listeners to stop taking his advice. During a comedy set in Austin on Tuesday, he told his audience, quote, "If you want my advice, don't take my advice." Hey, look, that's pretty simple. That's probably the best piece of advice Joe Rogan has given as of late. Wonderful. Now, he went on to say, and he addressed the backlash about his dangerous COVID-19 takes, which were full of, again, falsehoods. He said this, quote, "I talk shit for a living. That's why this is so baffling to me. If you're taking vaccine advice from me, is that really my fault? What dumb shit were you about to do when my stupid idea sounded better?" That's a good question. You know that dude who made people eat animal dicks on TV? How does he feel about medicine? Referencing himself. Hey man, that's literally the point that I've been trying to make for months. And what did that do? Well, it fell on deaf ears, of course. Rogan stands very, very angry with me. Hey man, you're wrong. See, he talks to the real people. He's not part of the mainstream, man. No, he's telling you the truth, man. He's pushing back against the establishment. I trust him. I don't trust fake news, CNN, or your vaccine. Well, do you realize that he just called you stupid for listening to him? And look, I'm inclined to agree. Yes, if you're listening to him for medical advice, you might not be the smartest person. What credentials does Joe Rogan bring to medicine? None. He's about as credentials as I am. But I'm not telling you to listen to me. Don't listen to me. Don't listen to me in my medical advice. No, go listen to the doctors. Listen to the scientific community. Over 99% of doctors that say, please get a COVID vaccine. Get vaccinated. Listen to them. Don't listen to us. We don't have the credentials. Joe Rogan, again, for his advice, look, if you want advice on lifting techniques or MMA shit, well then, great. He's your guy. Joe Rogan knows a lot about that. He's a very knowledgeable source, honestly. But look, the whole point of his show, and this is what's important. The whole point of his show is to sit around, smoke weed, do DMT, and talk bullshit with his friends. There's nothing wrong with that, in theory. But along the way, well, it stopped just being that, because his circle of friends, well, involved, I don't know, people like Alex Jones, who are dangerous grifters and conspiracy theorists. And then you have Jordan Peterson, you have Ben Shapiro, you have some very political figures that are giving some very political and oftentimes dangerous takes that are counterfactual. And oftentimes, because of the nature of Joe Rogan's show, and look, he's a friendly guy, right? Unless you're a trans person. Very friendly person to talk to. Very friendly interview, very relaxed. Well, in that case, he's not going to get any pushback. And so, yeah, a lot of times you'll get no pushback, and oftentimes agreement with some insane things. Now, one of the things that I want to show you is some of the insane things from one guest that he had on, which again, Joe, understand before I show you this, Joe Rogan does not vet his guests. Doesn't really do a whole lot of research into them. Okay? And so, that's how you end up with, guests like this.
Whole debate about the MAOA gene, which is like this gene that black Africans have, like it's like a proclivity to violence that they have.
MAOA gene.
Yeah. I recommend people Google it and do their own research. It's like a big debate about whether or not, but basically like what it is it's, if you think about like, kind of white European, Asian ancestors, as we kind of moved out of Africa, like aggression and violence was kind of less necessary because we were like farmers and stuff.
But
right?
God, is that really true?
No, it's not true. That's not true at all. There's no black violence gene. Wow. No. What that is, there's not a debate about that. That's white nationalist, white supremacist talking points. Oh, it's because we're all farmers. Oh, you mean none of the violence that happened in Europe, in the Middle Ages, any of the wars, the imperialism? Did you just forget that any of that happened? Chuck Johnson? No, again, Chuck Johnson not only is a white supremacist, but he's also a Holocaust denier. In that same episode, they went through and they both would make fun of SJWs, social justice warriors, right? This was 2015. Male feminists and beta males.
Beta male.
So they would make fun of that. And again, Joe Rogan has said lots and lots of transphobic things. And so there's some serious issues. And so the people that he brings on his show to have these relaxed conversations with and just, hey, I'm just asking questions, right? And I'm asking them questions just it's because they're not part of the mainstream, man. And, we're getting a different perspective, man. Well, here's the thing. When it comes to racism and the kind of stuff that Chuck Johnson was talking about, that actually was very mainstream. So mainstream that, of course, you had slavery that dominated this hemisphere for quite some time. Black chattel slavery. Very, very mainstream. There are people still alive today that are experiencing the effects of Jim Crow. Where black people had different water fountains than white people. Wasn't that long ago that was mainstream? Now it's not. Society changes. And you know what? That's a good thing, and you have to adapt to that change. Joe Rogan's been, on a lot of issues, or some issues at least, kind of slow to change. Now, look, his apology, I think, was fine. I think that shows like, hey, wow, yeah, I do apologize for that. And if you come in and you self-correct later on, that's great. I'm one of those people who likes it when people change for the better. When they realize that they've done something wrong and they go and correct it in the future. Now, the question is open on Joe Rogan. I like the apology, but you have to change going forward and start to do better. And for those who are asking, like, well, why does he have that responsibility? Well, with great power comes great responsibility. 11 million people listen to him. He is a large voice. He has a gigantic platform. And so he doesn't have the luxury of just saying, oh, why do you listen to me? I'm kind of an idiot. I'm just bullshitting. I'm an internet guy. Whoa. Well, that's not going to fly anymore with such a gigantic platform. Like it or not, people will take you seriously for the things that you say when you have that platform. And so that's, I don't know how somebody doesn't realize that once you get to a certain size, you have to kind of watch what you say. And yes, is it annoying? Is it something that people don't want? I can understand why. But when you get into the public spotlight and you become a public figure and you start to have lots of people that listen and care about the opinions that you say and actually take stock in the things that you say and the people you platform, I'm sorry, it does end up becoming a responsibility. And so I'm sorry, Joe, if you didn't want that responsibility, there's nothing really I can do for you. Okay? And again, so many people in his position might be saying, look, I didn't ask for this. Why should I have to do this? Again, you have people that trust you, you have people that listen to you. There's so little trust in institutions. And of course, there's valid reasons why, right? I would like to fix those institutions so that people like Joe Rogan can go bullshit on his own and not have to worry about getting people killed from, not vaccinating and taking, human dewormer, which doesn't work on COVID-19. I would like for people to trust our institutions so that Joe Rogan can go back to being an entertainer without that responsibility. But unfortunately, we don't have that. We don't have that situation. We have a celebrity-focused culture, which really puts more stock in people like celebrities, like Joe Rogan, and the things that they say, than actual institutions. And so, I'm sorry. At this point, maybe, just maybe, you should actually take this advice from Joe Rogan. And I'm actually encouraging you, take the advice and stop turning to him or any other cable pundit or independent pundit or anything like that. Stop turning to us for medical advice and turn to your doctor. Okay. You know what? I think I'm pretty clear about that. Okay. Drink your pita on the lips. Please don't. Please don't. Not good. Not good. I look at it this way: if people want to die, when you belong in a cult, I don't care what you say to these people; they're not going to listen. Yeah, unfortunately, I'm probably just going to get a whole bunch of shitload of angry Rogan stands again. I'm just trying to help people, What are you going to do? What are you going to do? All right. Before I go, let me just read this. This is Twitch here. Hunger Games 1989 resub for a month at tier 1. Thank you. 2 months officially subscribed and part of Waldorf Nation. Thank you. I really, really appreciate that. Let's see. Let's go to Super Chats, which I missed yesterday, and I apologize for that. Let's see. Bring that up. It's actually from yesterday, so I don't have any new ones today, so I don't know what's going on there. Shane McAndrew says, Russia broke the brains of liberals who blame everything on them and turn certain progressives into tankies. Yeah, 2016 broke so many fucking brains. Not just on the left, but the so-called the centrists or the establishment liberals. So many broken brains. So many. You can't utter the word Russia without both sides, their ears perking up, and then, criticizing you for factual reality. Which isn't one way or, really one way or the other. The truth is what it is. But you can't mention anything on that. It's the nature, I don't know, maybe it's the nature of our polarized situation. I don't know. I don't know what it is. But it sucks. Anyway, we're off tomorrow. So we're going to have a show Monday. So we'll be back on Monday. No show on Friday. Letting you know that. Hopefully you all have a great weekend. We'll see you all here back on Monday, 4 p.m. Eastern, right here, Waldorf Nation. Please like and share the clips. Very helpful if you do so. Let's raid into reactions. So, good friend of the show, Ravana, let her know that that I sent you. All right. Thank you all. Love you. And remember, change begins with you. We'll see you back here on Monday.
Dumps. Big, massive dumps.
Oh no!
They want to make you drink Starbucks every day from now until forever.
Disappointed! Obama!
Tighten up my meat. I like my meat tight.
Every goddamn thing out of you people's mouths doesn't come true.
They're kicking me out the door. They're kicking me out the door.